You wake up every day at the same time, drink the same coffee, catch the same bus, work the same hours, come home with the same exhaustion in your body and the same worry on your mind. You look at your bank statement and see the same small numbers. You look into the future and see the same gray road repeating endlessly. And there's a thought that haunts you, that whispers softly in the quiet of the early morning when you can't sleep. Will it always be like this? Will I spend my whole life chasing money without ever catching it? I've seen this pain in the eyes of thousands of people throughout my life. I've seen hard-working, honest, diligent people living for decades in this invisible prison. And the most hurtful part is that most of these people think the problem is a lack of opportunity, the economy, the government, the boss. They don't realize they're trapped not for lack of effort, but for lack of a specific habit. A habit so simple it seems obvious when you hear it, but so rare that only 3 out of 100 people actually practice it. Today, I'm going to tell you about this habit. But before I tell you what it is, I need to show you why you don't have it yet. Let me tell you about the biggest lie you've been sold about how to get out of poverty. They told you that you need to work harder, that you need a better degree, that you need a better job, that you need to save more. All of these are symptoms, not causes. I've spent 7 decades studying people who've escaped poverty and people who've remained trapped in it, and I've discovered something most economists won't tell you. The difference isn't in how much you earn. The difference is in how you think about what you earn. I'll give you a concrete example. There's a fascinating study by Sendil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir, 2 professors from Harvard and Princeton, who discovered something disturbing. They call it the bandwidth tax. When you're worried about money, when you're living in financial survival mode, you literally lose cognitive capacity. It's not a metaphor. It's measurable. People under financial stress lose an average of 13 IQ points. 13 points. It's the difference between being well-rested and being completely sleep-deprived. It's the difference between making smart decisions and making decisions that keep you poor. And here's the cruel trap. The poorer you are, the less mental capacity you have to get out of poverty. It's a loop, a self-feeding cycle. You're broke, so you become obsessed with the bill due tomorrow. This obsession consumes your mental energy. You can't think long-term because the short-term is screaming in your head. And because you don't think long-term, you make decisions that guarantee you'll stay broke in the future. You buy on credit because you need it now. You accept loans with absurd interest rates because you have no choice. You don't invest in learning something new because you don't have the time. And the cycle continues. But here's what I've learned. There's a habit that breaks this cycle, a habit that completely recalibrates how your mind processes money. It's not about earning more. It's about reprogramming the relationship between you and every cent that passes through your hands. The habit is this. Every day, before you go to sleep, you write down exactly where every cent you spent that day went. Every cent. It's not about budgeting. It's not about planning. It's about recording. It's about looking back and seeing the complete map of your money for that day. I know what you're thinking. This is too simple. This is too obvious. How can something so basic change an entire financial life? Let me explain the science behind it. When you record your expenses every day, you're doing something profound in your brain. You're creating awareness. Most people live on financial autopilot. They earn, they spend, they end the month with no money, and they repeat. They have no idea where the money actually went. They have a vague notion, but a vague notion doesn't change behavior. When you start writing it down, you're turning on lights in a dark room. Suddenly, you see things that were always there but you never noticed. Those $30 a day on snacks that seem insignificant, $900 a month, that streaming service you don't even use anymore, $40 every month leaving your account without you realizing it. That habit of ordering takeout on weekends because you're too tired to cook, $400 that could be working for you. But it's not just about finding leaks. It's about something much deeper. When you log your expenses every day, you're training your brain to create a pause between impulse and action. You're creating a space for conscious decision-making where before there was only automatic reaction. Let me tell you a story. I met a young man in Nebraska many years ago. He worked in a factory, earned minimum wage, was in debt. Nothing special about his story up to that point. He was just another person caught in the cycle. But he started this habit. Every day, without fail, he wrote down every expense. At first, it was painful. He'd see the numbers and feel shame. He'd see how much he was spending on trivial things while debt was accumulating interest. But he kept going. And something started to change, not overnight. But over weeks and months, he noticed he was making different decisions. Not because someone told him to, not because he read it in a book, but because now he could see. He saw that that $3 soda was a choice. He saw that that cigarette was a choice. He saw that staying in a job he hated without looking for something better was a choice. And when you see your choices, you gain power over them. And here I want to pause because I need to know if this is making sense to you. If what I'm describing resonates, if you've ever felt that sense of being on financial autopilot, of reaching the end of the month and not knowing exactly where the money went, I want you to do something now. Write in the comments, I live on autopilot. It's not just for you. It's because when you acknowledge it publicly, when you put it into words, something changes. And when other people read it and see they're not alone in this struggle, they gain the courage to change too. So go ahead, comment now. I read all of them, and I want to know that you're here, paying attention, ready to do things differently. Now let me tell you what happens when you maintain this habit for 30 days. In the first 7 days, you'll feel discomfort. It'll be a chore to write everything down. You'll forget to record some things, and you'll have to force your memory. You'll look at the numbers, and you won't like what you see. This is normal. This is good. Discomfort means you're waking up from a trance. Between day 8 and day 15, something interesting starts to happen. You begin to anticipate. Before you buy something, you already think, I'll have to log this tonight. This small anticipation creates a split second of awareness, and in that split second, you ask a question you never asked before. Do I really need this right now? It's not guilt. It's not deprivation. It's conscious choice. From day 16 to day 30, the habit solidifies. Logging your spending becomes natural. And more importantly, you start to see patterns. You see that every time you get stressed, you spend more. You see that every Tuesday, you spend more than other days because that's the day you drive past that shop. You see that when you're bored, you buy things you don't need. These patterns are pure gold. Because once you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. You can create strategies. If you spend more when you're stressed, you can create a rule. When I'm stressed, I wait 24 hours before buying anything non-essential. If you spend more every Tuesday, you can change your route. Sound simple? It is simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. And simple definitely doesn't mean ineffective. Now comes the part most people don't understand. This habit isn't about controlling money. It's about regaining control of your life. You see, when you live in financial survival mode, you're constantly reacting. The bill arrived, you pay it. An emergency came up, you figure it out. The paycheck hit, you spend it. You're not driving your life, you're being pushed by it. But when you create the habit of logging your spending every day, you're declaring something powerful. I'm paying attention. I'm present. I have agency over my life. This might sound too philosophical, but it has huge practical implications. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe their outcomes depend on their actions. People with an external locus of control believe their outcomes depend on forces outside of their control. Studies show that people with an internal locus of control earn more money, are healthier, are happier. And here's the good part. Locus of control isn't fixed. You can change it. And one of the most effective ways to change it is through small, repeated actions that prove to yourself that you have power over your outcomes. Every time you log your spending, you're proving to your brain, I have control here. I'm seeing, I'm deciding, and this spills over into other areas. When you realize you can control where your money goes, you start to realize you can control where your time goes. You can control your habits. You can control your career. The habit is small, but the ripple effect is enormous. Let me give you a more concrete example of how this works in practice. Imagine you earn $3,000 a month. You pay $1,500 for rent and fixed bills. That leaves $1,500. You think, $1,500 for food, transportation, everything else. It's barely enough. And indeed, at the end of the month, nothing is left. Now imagine you start logging. On the first day, you spend $80. You log $20 for lunch, $15 for a snack, $10 for a bus fare, $35 at the grocery store. You look and think, $80 in one day, times 30 days is $2,400, but I only have $1,500. How does that work? Then you realize, some days I spend less, some days I borrow money without realizing it, some days I use the credit card and push the problem to next month. You're living in a state of chronic financial confusion. But when you log for 30 consecutive days, the fog dissipates. You see that you really need $50 a day on average to live. $1,500 a month. Perfect. That's exactly what you have available. But then you look closer. Of those $50 a day, 15 are going towards things that don't bring you real value. Coffee from the corner store that you could make at home. Expensive delivery from a food app. Impulse buys at the grocery store because you went hungry. If you cut those $15 of waste, you have $15 left per day, $450 a month. Suddenly, you have $450 that can move from the consumption cycle to the building cycle. $450 every month invested with compound interest for 10 years is over $70,000. For 20 years, it's over $200,000. You didn't change jobs. You didn't win the lottery. You didn't inherit money. You simply stopped leaking $450 a month on things that don't matter. But there's an even deeper layer to all of this. When you log your spending, you're creating data about yourself. Real data, not assumptions. And data is power. Most people live based on assumptions about their own financial lives. They assume they spend little on nonsense. They assume they need everything they buy. They assume they can't save more. But assumptions don't build wealth. Data builds wealth. When you have 30 days of data on your spending, you can ask smart questions. How much do I really need to live on? What's the difference between my spending on workdays versus weekends? How much of my spending is emotional versus necessary? Which purchases brought me real value And which did I forget about a week later? These questions seem simple, but the answers will shock you. Because the truth is, most of us are spending money not to meet real needs, but to numb emotions we don't want to feel. We're buying distraction to avoid facing boredom. We're buying comfort to avoid facing stress. We're buying status to avoid facing insecurity. And none of this is moral judgment. It's just human pattern. But when you see the pattern written down, when you see that every time you fight with someone you spend more the next day, when you see that every time you feel lonely, you buy something online, you gain the option to choose differently. You can decide, when I feel this again, instead of spending, I'll go for a walk, or call a friend, or write, or do anything else that won't make me poorer. Now, there's a practical aspect I need to teach you, because many people start this habit and give up in the first week. The way you log matters. If it's complicated, you won't stick with it. Let me give you the simplest method there is. Get a small notebook, one of those pocket-sized ones, or open the Notes app on your phone. Create a new note every day with the date. And throughout the day, whenever you spend money, jot it down immediately. Just 3 things: how much, what for, and what time. For example, $10, coffee, 7 a.m., $20, lunch, noon, $5, bus fare, 6 p.m. At the end of the day, before you go to sleep, add it all up and write down the day's total. That's it. No need for fancy apps. No need for colorful spreadsheets. No need for detailed categories. The simpler it is, the more likely you are to stick with it for 30 days. After 30 days, if you want to get fancy, you can. You can create categories. You can make charts. You can analyze trends. But for the first 30 days, keep it stupidly simple. The goal isn't to do complex financial analysis. The goal is to build awareness. And awareness comes from repetition, not complexity. There's a hard truth I need to tell you here. This habit will show you things about yourself that you won't like. It'll show you that you're spending more than you think. It'll show you that you're making choices that go against your own goals. It'll show you that you're sabotaging your future to comfort your present. And when you see it written down in black and white, it's going to hurt. You'll feel embarrassed. You'll feel frustrated. You'll want to stop writing it down because it's more comfortable not to know. But here's what I've learned over decades. Discomfort is the price of change. If you want a different financial life, you have to be willing to feel the discomfort of seeing the truth about your current financial life. Most people prefer to live in the comfortable illusion that they're doing the best they can. But doing the best you can based on illusions leads nowhere. Doing the best you can based on truth, that changes everything. So when you feel shame looking at your numbers, don't run away. Feel the shame, acknowledge it, and use it as fuel. Let that shame show you that you're capable of more, that you deserve more, that you can make different choices from now on. I'm going to tell you about the most powerful part of this habit. It's not what it does for your money, it's what it does for your identity. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you log your spending, you're voting. I am a person who is mindful of my money. I am a person who pays attention. I am a person who makes intentional choices. And when you vote for that identity every day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that identity starts to solidify. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the architect of your life. And once your identity changes, your behavior changes automatically. You no longer need willpower to avoid spending on junk. You simply don't spend because you're not the type of person who spends on junk. People who understand this have a brutal advantage over people who don't. They're not fighting themselves all the time. They've redesigned who they are. There's an author I admire greatly, James Clear, who wrote about this in Atomic Habits. He says that lasting change doesn't come from focusing on goals. It comes from focusing on identity. It's not about having more money. It's about becoming the type of person who builds wealth. And the type of person who builds wealth is mindful of every single dollar, not because they're cheap, because they're intentional. If this content is making sense to you, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Now, let me give you the practical part of how to implement this starting today. Step 1. Choose your method, notebook or phone. It doesn't matter which, it just needs to be easy to access and something you always have with you. Step 2. Set your review time. Every day at the same time, you'll review your spending for the day and add up the total. It could be before bed, right after dinner, or during your evening shower. It doesn't matter when, it just needs to be consistent. Step 3. Create an alert. Set an alarm on your phone to remind you to do your review. For the first 30 days, you'll forget. The alarm ensures you don't skip days. Step 4. Don't judge, just observe. In the early days, you'll see numbers you don't like. Resist the urge to criticize yourself. Just observe, just record. Judgment blocks learning. Curiosity unlocks learning. Step 5. After 7 days, look at the whole week. Add up the week's total. Divide by 7. That's your average daily spending. Multiply by 30. That's your projected monthly spending. Compare it to your income. Are you spending more than you earn? Less? The same? Just that number alone will change your perspective. Step 6. After 30 days, look for patterns. What days do you spend more? What types of spending repeat without you realizing it? What expenses brought you real value? What expenses have you already forgotten? Step 7. Choose one pattern to change. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one leak, one habit, one category, and focus on reducing that for another 30 days while continuing to log everything. Step 8. Observe the money you saved from this change and consciously decide where it's going. Don't let it disappear into general expenses. Give it a destination. Pay off debt. Build a reserve. Invest. When you see the concrete result of your effort, it reinforces the habit. There's something nobody tells you about getting out of financial hardship. It's not a straight line. It's not a clean process where you decide to change, implement the habit, and everything progressively gets better. It's messy. There are setbacks. There are months where you do everything right and still an emergency destroys your progress. There are moments when you'll feel silly for tracking pennies while other people seem to spend without a care. There are days you'll question if it's worth it. And here's what I want you to understand. It is worth it. Not for the $45 you might save in the first month, but for the person you'll become in the process, for the clarity you'll gain, for the power you'll reclaim over your own life. I've seen people get out of $50,000 debts with this habit, not because the habit paid off the debt, but because the habit changed how they thought about money. And when you change how you think about money, you change how you earn money, how you spend money, how you invest money. Everything changes, but it starts with this simple, boring, obvious habit that almost nobody does. Logging every single cent, every single day. Let me give you a final warning. You're going to encounter resistance, not just internal, but external too. People will make fun of you for tracking your spending. They'll say you're being cheap. They'll say you're neurotic. They'll try to convince you to relax, enjoy life, stop worrying so much. These people are projecting their own discomfort with their lack of financial control onto you. Don't let the opinions of people who are broke influence your financial decisions. This might sound obvious when I put it like this, but in practice, it's tough. Because the people criticizing you are likely people you love. Family, friends, your partner, and you don't want to be seen as selfish or obsessed with money. But here's the truth. Taking good care of your money isn't selfish, it's responsible. And financial responsibility allows you to take better care of the people you love. When you're not drowning in debt and worries, you have more emotional energy to give. When you build financial stability, you can help your family in emergencies. When you understand money, you can teach the next generations not to repeat your mistakes. So don't let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting to escape poverty. Stick to your habit. Keep your records. Keep your integrity. The people who mock you today will be asking you for advice in 5 years. Let's recap what we've discussed here today. First, we understood that the difference between those who escape poverty and those who remain stuck isn't in how much you earn, but in how you think about what you earn. Second, we saw that financial stress literally reduces your cognitive capacity, creating a loop where the poorer you get, the harder it becomes to make decisions that lift you out of poverty. Third, we discovered there's a habit that breaks this loop, writing down every single penny you spend every day before you go to sleep. Fourth, we understood that this habit isn't about controlling money. It's about regaining control over your life, about creating awareness, about shifting your identity from victim to architect. Fifth, we looked at the practical method, a notebook or your phone, immediate logging, daily review, pattern searching after 30 days, incremental change of one pattern at a time. Sixth, we recognized it's going to be uncomfortable. It will reveal painful truths, but that discomfort is the price of transformation. And seventh, we understood that you'll face external and internal resistance, but sticking to the habit despite the resistance is what separates those who change from those who just talk about changing. Here's what I want you to deeply understand. Poverty isn't a lack of money. Poverty is a lack of awareness about money. You can earn little and not be poor if you know exactly where every cent is going and you choose intentionally. You can earn a lot and be poor if you have no idea where the money goes and you're living on autopilot. Wealth begins with attention. Attention transforms into awareness. Awareness transforms into choice. Choice transforms into change. Change transforms into habit. Habit transforms into identity. Identity transforms into destiny. It all starts with you deciding to pay attention. Logging your expenses is the physical act of paying attention. It's simple, but not easy. It's obvious, but it's rare. It's free, but it's powerful. And it's completely within your control, starting tonight. You don't need permission. You don't need a degree. You don't need money to start. You just need a notebook or phone and the decision to stop living in the dark about your own financial life. The deepest truth I've learned about money in 7 decades isn't about complex investments or fancy strategies. It's this. Most people remain poor not for lack of opportunity, but for lack of attention. They're asleep while money slips through their fingers. And you don't wake someone who is asleep by shouting harsh truths. You wake someone by turning on the lights. Logging your expenses is turning on the lights. And once the lights are on, you can no longer ignore what you see. You can choose not to act, but you can no longer choose not to know. And knowledge is the first step to freedom. Financial freedom isn't having so much money you never have to think about it. Financial freedom is knowing exactly what's happening with your money and intentionally choosing what to do with it. and that's available to you regardless of the size of your bank account. It starts today. It starts with a single day of complete logging. Tomorrow, you do it again, and again, and again, until it's no longer a conscious effort, until it's simply who you are, someone who pays attention, someone who chooses, someone who builds instead of just reacts. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I know you're different. You didn't click away when the content got uncomfortable. You didn't leave when you realized I wasn't selling a get-rich-quick scheme. You stayed because you're looking for truth, not comfort. And that tells me everything I need to know about you. You're ready to do the work most people won't, ready to see what most people prefer to ignore, ready to change what most people accept as inevitable. Here on this channel, every week I bring conversations like this. Reflections on money, on mindset, on the invisible forces that govern our relationship with wealth. It's not about tricks. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about deeply understanding how money works and how your mind works in relation to money. It's about building real financial wisdom, not temporary hacks. If this resonates with you, if you want to continue this journey of genuine transformation, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. You're not just subscribing to a channel, you're joining a community of people who have chosen to wake up, who have chosen to pay attention, who have chosen to build a financial life based on awareness and intention. People who understand that true wealth isn't about showing off, it's about having options. And options come from clarity. I'll be here every week bringing that clarity to you. See you in the next video.